Hello, and welcome to the Data Science Education and Workforce Working Group. This is a monthly open professional working group for data science educators and program leaders to talk and hear from other programs around the country, as well as learn about resources for connecting with data, tools, industry partners, and research. This working group is hosted by the South Big Data Innovation Hub, which is part of a $40 million data science hub and spoke initiative across the country. I am Dr. Renata Rawlingsgoss, the Executive Director of the South Big Data Innovation Hub, and we reach over 1,300 industry, academic, and government partners across the 16 states designated as the South. Also, nationally and internationally, with working groups such as this one, programs, projects, as well as seed funding yearly for the community. Our goal with this collaborative working group is to explore three important areas of data science education and workforce. One, highlighting funded data science education projects, programs, and the resources that come from those programs. Second, to share best practices for project-based courses and teaching approaches. And third, to provide experiences with evaluation approaches for data science courses as well as data science programs, and how they might engage with industry partners and beyond. Our goal first is to create a network of data science educators and project leaders. In each meeting, two of your working group colleagues will share their models or resources for community use. We will also provide a space for introduction and discussion where members of the group can have an outlet to ask questions and highlight the great or complementary work they may be doing through resource sharing. To that end, our work objectives include the creation of actionable recommendation guides for teaching project-based data science courses, a combined resource list for data science education and workforce projects, and a discussion of models for evaluating data science courses, projects, as well as programs. So if you're interested in joining the working group, please feel free to join the mailing list at the South Big Data Hub website. I am excited about this year and what we can do together, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
So this is the poster that we presented in the April PI meeting, and it's a collaborative proposal. So there are four institutions actually. UMBC is the lead, and then we have got Towson University, and we have got Bowie State University, and we have got the University of Baltimore. So four universities together, but University of Baltimore being a new university, had to do a subcontract through UMBC. So, which is why you'll just see 3 awards instead of 4. Okay, so the combination of backgrounds are from information systems, a couple of faculties, 3 faculty from information systems, then there are a couple from computer science at UMBC, and then one from Towson is in CIS. Seema Iyer from UB is actually an urban planner, and she's, I think, in the business school, but she does a lot of different types of work, and her students come from applied math to applied IT to business schools backgrounds. And Sharad is a computer science professor at Bowie State. Okay, so you can see a little bit of a picture here, and then there are different projects that students are participating and have already produced some results. I'll talk a little bit about the projects, but essentially there are 3 things that we are doing. One is module-based teaching, where students can actually learn from teaching modules, and I'll talk about that. The second one is by getting involved with the community in the Baltimore area in particular, talk about that as well. And the last one is to get involved in research projects. So the 3 together we are hoping form a complete whole experience for the students. So this is the project structure. We haven't really put together the advisory board yet, but we are in the process of doing that. UMBC is a coordinating and implementing organization, and then the three universities that I mentioned. And then there are quite a few local organizations in the city of Baltimore, some private organizations, and some government as well. So it's a combination of multiple stakeholders, and we in fact did a workshop in July, and there are 600 participants from the Baltimore area, from these three sectors, just to discuss about the different types of issues that can be solved using data science in the city of Baltimore. Our goal obviously is to really expand and make sure that these are applicable to other cities across the country. And I've started talking a little bit with people from Portland, the Portland area, because they are also doing smart city projects. But the hope is it's going to expand. Okay, so this is sort of the types of topics that we're covering in the modules. And so at the center, we have the data science core, and there are 25 students across 4 universities that are participating. And there are a few volunteers who are not actually paid, but or cannot be paid because they are not US citizens. Excuse me. But they're also participating. So around 80 is my guess of the number of students, not 80, 30 is my guess in terms of the number of students that are really participating in the data science core. So the larger circle right above the yellow, which is orange, I believe, it talks a little bit about the different challenges with data science projects. You know, we talked to many different colleagues, and they said that one of the biggest challenges is really to clean the data and get it into a format where after which you can actually analyze it. So the interesting, novel, exciting things are all in the analytics, but analytics cannot be done until and unless you have got the clean data, and you have also got, you know, no missing attributes or no missing data. If you have any, you have to impute them. Before that, there's no point even trying to do that, and there are major challenges in doing that. So in terms of the analysis, we are including geospatial analysis, and students have already done some projects on that. How to deal with big data, which is not necessarily just the size of the data, but also the nature in which the data arrives in different formats at different speeds from different modalities and sources and things like that. Machine learning and deep learning is a major part of this venture, and then virtual reality. And I'll give you some examples of that. And then at the top, we have the different types of applications. So transportation, we are actually collaborating with the Maryland Department of Transportation and DOT, State Highway Administration. Education is a big factor, and we are not actually right now doing anything on education per se, but how, you know, people can have more access to schooling depending on where they live and things like that, and also mobility. So housing and healthcare are the 2 other issues. The one that I did not mention is cybersecurity, because as we get more and more systems implemented in smart cities, for example, smart streetlights, or even smart garbage cans, or smart buildings and things like that, the attack surface, the number of ways to attack increases exponentially. So it is very important to be able to figure out whether we are also securing the cyber infrastructure that we are building, and that is part of the cybersecurity, which is not listed here. So I said a couple of things on that. So in terms of the education, we are in the process of building the modules right now, and the modules will be tested on the cohort, the first cohort of students in the fall of 2020. And then eventually the question is, how do we expand it? So we are planning to do a badging system. It's a special badge for smart cities, data science in smart cities, which doesn't exist right now. There's a badging program. We have to design a logo and all that, but is offered by the University of System of Maryland. Okay, so I think there are 13 campuses. I think the vast majority of the campuses are participants to this. Some of them are listed here. And the idea is that it will be available to undergraduate students to get a badge, essentially. So once they take the modules, do the assignments and the quizzes, they will be eligible to get a badge. And this will be a holistic education as it pertains to smart cities. The other big piece that we have is community engagement. And this is not a video, but we had, so BINIA, which stands for Baltimore Neighborhood Indicator Alliance, is sort of a center that works with all of the city councils and city government, many of them at least, and then some within the state and some even outside the state, both private as well as public, to figure out what the needs are, what are the most major challenges, and then how can we actually solve them with data science projects, and then how do we disseminate the information? How do we make the users actually use them and gather information from them about the usability and usefulness of those systems? So the user participation is very, very strong, a very strong part of this project. And like I said, there was a Baltimore Data Week in which over a 5-day period, we, virtual obviously this year, there were as many as 600 participants from all over the state of Maryland, many from Baltimore City and some outside as well, who came together and did a lot of brainstorming. We also had students present some of their work that they have done. And after their presentation, we kind of talked to them, and then we had panel discussions and breakout sessions. We talked to the students, and they actually said that they learned a lot of skills by doing the projects that they did not have before. Okay, so a multidisciplinary team of data science students is what we are looking for in terms of the projects. So this is the other thing, that we are coming with a curriculum map, and on the one hand, this is still a work in progress. In the rows, we have the various different educational objectives. Okay, for example, critical analysis and thinking, written and oral and verbal communication, technology competency, and things like that. So this is not a complete list, and this is very much a work in progress, which will be completed by this year. And in the columns, we have the different modules as well as activities. So as you can see, there are the core activities and projects which are participating in the communities and also participating in research projects. And then we are planning to use edX, which is an open source software for educational purposes, and it's non-profit, and that's, I think, the distinguishing feature from Coursera, for instance. So we are planning to use edX. We're actually going through the training right now to port our modules into edX platforms, and then it will be freely available certainly to everyone in the USM system, but our goal is also to make it open nationwide and perhaps even worldwide. So these are some of the research examples, and this is just a small subset of the research that has been done by the students in the past couple of semesters. So on the top left is the different types of crimes, because unfortunately, crime is one of the major issues in Baltimore City. But so a student actually collected data and showed the number of crimes and the types of crimes in histograms, as you can see, before and after COVID. Okay, and there are some interesting patterns. So I won't go through the details right now, but students have really found some interesting patterns in terms of the crime before and after COVID took place. The one on the top right corner is about drugs, and we're also extending to human trafficking. Although human trafficking is not really a big problem in this region, it is more of a problem in the border states. But so we are working with a local, law enforcement agency called HIDA. There are 33 HIDAs across the United States. There's one in Maryland, and we're working with them. Now these agencies, they're very good at catching the criminals, so to speak, but they have not really expanded their scope to social media. And as social media becomes more and more popular, and there are more and more, particularly the younger generation depend on social media, there's a lot of drug dealing, which is at the retailing end of this whole system that happens using social media. So our plan is really to combine the databases that they already have and also get some information from FinCEN, which is financial, essentially these are money laundering, which is also related to, because once drug dealers get the money, they have to launder it to make sure that they can use them. Um, and then, so there are about a dozen different databases that will be connected, and then we're going to do some analytics on that. So one of the students and one PhD student and several undergraduate students have already done some work in this particular domain of trying to identify the websites that are doing drug dealing and also geolocate them. The bottom left corner shows an example of a virtual reality project that Sara Sharma is doing, whose picture you can see here, in terms of, for example, virtual reality for building evacuation. Because the buildings and, particularly older cities have got designs that are not really, optimized to modern day living. And so there are different types of risks, fire and other types of things, maybe terrorist attacks or shooting and stuff like that, that can create a pretty bad situation. And so if you can design, if you can really see what would a virtual evacuation look like, we can perhaps give them better directions in terms of improving the designs, and particularly when new buildings come up. And the bottom right corner is a project that we have just started with the Maryland Department of Transportation. What they want us to do is really to figure out as early as possible, as quickly as possible, if a traffic accident has occurred. Now, there are sensor networks with automatic detectors in various regions, but they don't cover everything. And also some of the sensors are unreliable. They go down, malfunction, and they're not able to collect the data and send it to any local, any remote, any server, central server. There are also drones that collect images and then try to analyze what the traffic situation is. Unfortunately, it takes somewhere between half an hour to 1 hour after an accident has occurred for the police to be notified and come to the accident location, police and ambulances. So what we are trying to do is trying to figure out if we can even predict if an accident might occur or an accident situation is occurring. That will save a lot of lives, and also will help in resolving traffic congestion problems. So we are combining multiple modalities: data coming from social media, data coming from crowdsourcing applications like Waze, data coming from sensors, as well as from drones, to see if you can put together a system that can combine all of this data and then analyze it. And then we're also going to generate some data. We're going to generate using generative adversarial networks to create situations synthetically. And this really fits very nicely with the South Data Hub's synthetic cities, because lots of situations can be quite dangerous, but they can be studied in a virtual environment, and we can learn from them and make it as real as possible, as close to the real world as possible, and then take measures, be prepared for it, and identify situations and detect actual incidents. So that's the last thing is, so we did, in addition to obviously the collaboration with South Data Hub, and also Portland State University, we started a collaboration recently with Tufts University. This started in the NSFPI meeting in April, where Lenore Cohen, who is the principal investigator, they have a Tripods Award, and they are very interested in working with us. We are talking about student exchange programs, and students from UMBC and Towson and UB and Bowie State can actually go over to Tufts. Some of the Tufts students can come over to UM and all of these other universities and spend time in our labs, and thereby we can kind of expand. And we are learning a lot of new challenges that we really didn't think about when it comes to data science from them as well. So that's in a nutshell what we have been doing, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I see that some people have asked questions in the Etherpad. And yeah, thank you for that talk. It was really well done. And about the project. So if you can click on the little, click on your picture and look at the little, or click on my picture. Aryya, and look at the little three dots that are next to it. You can make me host again. That way I can
Okay, let me do
give the
that.
host over to the next speaker. But if you would mind going in and looking at the questions people have asked, there were some notes, some people were taking notes on what you were saying, but also some, thank you, Patty, she put some resources in the chat and tried to transfer it into the Etherpad. So if others have resources that are relevant to what we were talking about, you can add it there. Or if you have answers to the questions, it'd be great to answer them there too. The next speaker is Dr. Mantravadi, and he will introduce himself and also talk about a project where he is doing a project-based teaching and what they are looking at doing.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Mantravadi, and I have past a decade of experience in online teaching in data science and in big data. I'm a health economist, and I'll be discussing today about more of the real-world applications of big data in teaching, as using as an example of the Quality Matters National Certification for online teaching, which is going to be especially relevant these days with trying to deliver online quality learning, especially with COVID. We need to really be able to create trustworthy standards on the expectations of how exactly to create the most effective online course. For, in this case, we'll be talking about healthcare analytics and data science, especially in health informatics, and how exactly we can provide a most optimal teaching approach, and different ways about how Quality Matters certification will help you meet that particular creation of an effective course. And I'll be giving some examples for both a graduate as well as a undergraduate course, and different ways that you can provide more of an interactive experience. So right now, online teaching, we're going to be seeing that as a disruptive innovation these days, being able to fully apply some of our big data courses into transferring that either into the new translation to Canvas, or maybe in our current settings in maybe the classic Blackboard use that we're seeing. And we need to be able to kind of discuss the differences between face-to-face settings versus virtual settings, and how exactly we can fully engage with those students. As our instructor roles and responsibilities are going to be changing, now that we'll be able to switching to either a full online course or maybe even a hybrid course. And the type of feedback and communication that you'll be providing is going to be different, and often we're not going to have our face directly involved with students, and we're not really able to fully show our presence in course. So that's really the chance for us to focus on interactivity during the course. And then the course delivery itself can be varied, and that's exactly how impacts on how we want to make our course more interactive is going to come in line with our chance to make new technology applications, either in terms of incorporating that within the course itself and how it's delivered, or second of all, in terms of providing how the course structure and actual course material is including new technologies that allow students to incorporate more of a stronger communication with you as an instructor. An example I'll be giving will be focused on case study examples, and then I'll be going through finally the Quality Matters examples of how exactly or why exactly you would like your course to meet these national standards, and how exactly you can do so, what exactly the process is, and why exactly it'll make the most impact, especially right now during the COVID pandemic. Given that, let me change my screen. Okay. So let's first talk about instructor roles and responsibilities. With online teaching, you need to take on more of an innovative teaching strategy to meet the different learning styles that you were unable to be reaching with such an online setting versus how you would apply that in a face-to-face setting. University design is going to be changing based on the new focus towards online teaching, or at minimum hybrid teaching. And obviously there are going to be different learning styles that you would need to adapt your teaching approach to meet. So learning styles again can vary from a combination of just looking at a visual learner, or more of an interactive hands-on learner, or especially as an example I'll be giving throughout this speech is focusing on health analytics. And often with those who approach either our graduate or as well as our doctorate, especially courses, even given towards our undergraduate courses, you're going to see more of a focus on the adult learner learning styles. And you need to be able to take more of a focus to really change your course design to provide almost quick or instant feedback. One way that we always try to approach that, even with just a regular face-to-face course, is we try and create maybe a small debate in course, or a discussion that we go on face-to-face. Now, when you translate that to an online setting, the course design needs to completely change, because often students may feel that there's like a robot instructor who you're not really able to feel that connectivity with the instructor and the student. So being able to change that, you need to be able to change your course design to, first of all, adapt to your lifestyle as well. So you may not always be able to provide instant feedback as needed on a weekend when the course assignments may be due at maybe Sunday midnight. So you need to be able to change how exactly you want to improve that interactivity, whether you want to focus on maybe looking at trying to create an Ask Your Instructor commenting board, or whether you want to be able to change your course design to focus more on incorporating other technologies as part of your university design for courses. That could be, for example, with Canvas, you may be focusing a lot on incorporating collaborative environments, especially with Google Docs. You want to change that interactivity, so you want to have more online office hours that would replace what you might have, where a student may just approach you during the course week. That course design needs to be completely changed, and it's essential to have that constant interactivity, because again, students, you're not able to directly provide a face-to-face manner, and it's really important for you to provide that, providing discussion help and creating an arc of learning throughout the week. And again, your course design may be dependent on whether you're providing an asynchronous or a synchronous online setting. Your communication standards, you want to be able to set up that expectation actually in the syllabus itself, and the timing of exactly how you create your communication with students. As an example, let's use discussion boards. Are you always going to be there as a present instructor, or let your discussion flow as is, with students just chiming in together? And the goal is for you to provide feedback throughout the course week. So it's almost like an arc of learning, where you provide a welcome-based agree statement in the beginning of the week and slowly progress and guide students posts throughout the week. You want to try to avoid a lot of non-value added posts, and you'll see that impact on Quality Matters certification as well. That you want to try and avoid students focusing on, I agree, I enjoyed your post. Changing that communication standard is going to be a lot different in you shaping exactly what you can see in an online setting versus you actually going hands-on and working with groups online. You also want to try and model what exactly you should be providing in a discussion post. So you also want to provide continuous feedback from the beginning of the week towards the end. I'll be giving some examples here how to integrate theory and application, but you want students to you want to change your discussion board quote or prompt to be allowing students to have more opportunities to demonstrate real world examples. And throughout the course, you're always going to have an example where there may be technology issues, not just guided at the student side, but also at how your course is developed, the university IT power outages, or so on. So create more opportunities to have both informal and formal feedback, both in grading as well as constantly emailing, chatting, communicating, posts on discussion boards, constantly working with the student to understand they're not just alone in this new stage of our teaching career. It's not just they're facing the world of online teaching, but we're in this together. Time management is going to be a main focus with online courses. You need to be able to understand your student group, whether or exactly or how you want to set out your, I would say, learning contract throughout this online course you're going to be setting up. Students may be more focused on an adult learning style, where others may be self-motivated. And again, with an online course, it's not just going to be a passive flow, but students need to take more motivation and actually being able to work through lectures, readings, discussions. And that's where you partially come in showing that interactivity with them in weekly announcements or specificity in how you're going to set up your grading, whether it's group or individual. Time management is of key, because before you know, the week will get over for an online course, and almost you have to retime what your assignments are going to be set out. It's very fluid, and you're not going to have a start or stop opportunity like you do in a face-to-face course, where you start learning at a lecture time from 1 to 2, and then you stop learning after the class is dismissed. So it's your choice, your chance also to motivate students to learn on their own with addressing multiple topics at one time, multiple course topics at one time, and being able to apply multiple courses as they progress based on a prereq. They really need to be able to facilitate that based on how you communicate. Your technologies that you want to apply are going to be more focused towards not just adding bells and whistles for the sake of them, because you have this new chance to apply more theory in your online course, but actually being able to add it when your course needs it. The goal is to meet university design requirements as well as universal design requirements. Two different things, one based on what your academic field needs, and second of all, of being able to make sure that's going to meet student needs as well. Designed so that students can interact with technology, but the learning styles are also going to meet. So for example, if you provide a link or a video or a reading style, make sure it's available in multiple access points, availability from caption to actual braille, if possible, reading was the highest level of access. You want to make sure it's easy to navigate both for you and the students. So if there are any troubleshooting questions, you can address with current technologies. So you can go all the way from an expansive view from Prezi all the way to Jing, where you can manually navigate recording yourself. But make sure your institution can actually provide that. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is a great example of how you can do a lot of online office hours that are available from Canvas itself. I won't spend too much time on this. Because I do realize that we don't have much time here. I want to be able to go through quality matter certification. So why exactly would you want an online course? You want it to be effective. You want it to be fully standardized. We want it to be easily approachable. And there's several standards that I haven't gone through each one, but the goal of this is you will get also a quality matters based learning designer who will actually help you go through several rounds of peer review, where the goal of this, of creating a quality matters course, is to be more centered on your academic material, but it should be continuously updated based on peer review settings, changes in technology, changes in current academic field, as well as making sure that any constructive feedback is going to be more collaborative and collegial across work with your academic field, work with your quality matters instructor. It's also adding a separate level of an instructional design in being able to make sure your course meets expectations of your academic standards, university level, quality matters level, as well as your academic field. And you'll get multiple rounds of feedback by making sure that you're able to actually go through a round of review within your faculty process as well. And it's really aimed to improve professional development, both within an instructor process, is improving how exactly you're going to design your course based on all of the other components I was talking about. What I will quickly give an example on is graduate courses and how we can apply big data towards healthcare decision making. So as an example with healthcare decision making, we try to get students more involved in applying their own case study for creating their own particular software using machine learning, where they're able to apply immediately.
So we have one
I will
more
maybe
minute,
stop here.
And so that we can talk about we wanted to talk about one thing in the last 2 minutes. So we have 1 more minute to just describe this.
I realized maybe I'll stop here and just kind of go through some questions, and then we'll see if we have time to go through the examples.
Great. So thank you for the talk. I think it was particularly useful if you would be willing to put that list of software into the Etherpad so that people could see it, the different types of software for online teaching. And I had a question, I'll put it in the Etherpad as well, about how people would engage with this quality matters and how they would get connected. So real quick, so if you could go to the Etherpad, I'll put that question in as well as anyone else that has questions. One thing before we go is, as we move forward, so the next working group is going to be next month. It's the first Friday of every month at 11 a.m. And we'll send it to the mailing list as well. So if you have colleagues, we ask that you don't share necessarily the Zoom link. That may change, but to ask them to sign up for the mailing list, and they'll be able to get emails. We send out an email usually a week before, the day before, and then the day of, so that people have it and are able to join. But also for moving forward with that goal in mind of being really a resource to others, if you are looking at some of the presentations and thinking about connections that could be made to what you're working on, or how we might help support that connectivity, please put that in the Etherpad as well, or in the chat. We will take that in so that we can continuously iterate this, so that it's really a working group and not only a webinar series that we can iterate on how we can improve, how we can best disseminate those types of areas. So that's really where we want to be. We want to respect everyone's time and stop on time, but we will leave the Etherpad open. We'll leave it open until 5 today. So if people have questions, if you have time to look back at it or to answer people's questions. Also, if you're not a speaker, but you have an answer to someone's question, please chime in. After that, we'll take it down and we'll put it back up on the website, but it won't be editable for this time. So if you have any direct questions, we want you to be able to, even questions for the group, to be able to ask the group. There's a wealth of resources, and we got a lot of people interested in speaking, more than we could support for the whole year. So we know we have more expertise on the call than even we will get to, and so we want to be sure that you have an opportunity to share what you are doing and how, and to make the connections that work best. All right, so I will just open it up here. This is 12, so if anybody has to leave, if you have any particular questions for us or questions for the group, you can stay on. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe and and have a great Friday and entering into the weekend.
Thank you.
All right.
On behalf of everyone, I want to thank Renata for organizing this great effort.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's great. It's great to see everyone. We need more excuses to get together, even in a virtual space.